Welcome to The Good Ride. I'm James Beastie, and while I'm monogamous in life with the wife, I'm deeply committed to an open relationship in snowboard gear. Another board I tested this year is the Nitro Alternator. This is the Volcom version, but there's a regular version as well. They just have different graphics. I rode this with Union Atlas, Union Force, and Ride Deadbolt boots. I got this in a wide variety of conditions, some great groomers, some not so great groomers, some okay powder, and then some really decent late spring POW, which is the best I could get for when Nitro could send me these boards. I also tried this in a 57 and a 160. And speaking of, I got that 157 thanks to Gravity Sports at Mount Bachelor, and they have this available for demo. In terms of sizing, the 160 felt a little big for me. It was really fun going fast with this, but if I were to buy a board, I would definitely go down to the 57. I felt like I had more control, and it handled my 190 to 195 pounds incredibly well. I felt like I could be 20, 25 pounds heavier and it would still ride well. And I personally like control and quicker turning over speed, so that's why I would choose that. If you're the opposite of me, then size up. It'll be a little harder to turn if you're a 9, but if you're a 10 or a 10 and a half, this will be great. So let's talk snowboard dating app, some things that'll make you want to swipe right. This has loads of pop. It's pretty damp for this flex. It's a very fun board to turn and get air with. It's a good one board quiver. Some things that'll make you want to swipe left. This is full on, real, unforgiving camber. When it comes to shape, this is tapered and directional, but it's only 5 mil of taper. You don't feel a huge difference between nose and tail. Even with all this nose and all this tail, it feels much more centered on board than you would think. This feels more directional than most all mountain boards, but less than a lot of freeride boards. I didn't feel that washy, tapered feel. When it comes to camber, you can see there's a shit ton here. Same with the 157 I rode, and you can see it's camber to the tip and tail. It definitely feels much more technical. Advanced to expert riders are best for this board. Intermediates will catch an edge and take some lumps. It tracks really well though, and I love the way full camber feels, one footing, flat basing, going down a long flat cat track, that kind of thing. When it comes to edge hold, I felt like this had very competent grip. I don't really see any disruptions like the power pods, but it does have a multi-radius side cut, and that can often allow for better grip. It's good in hard snow, but I did have to dial back my turns a little bit sometimes. Let's talk flex personality. You can see there's a medium-ish flex to it. It's pretty stiff in the tail and a little softer in the nose, especially that longer nose. It's a little easier to access a butter there than the tail. I thought this would be easier, but being full camber, you definitely don't have any cheater early rise to get an easy butter. But I found that the pop on an ollie was really good. It has a very lively, energetic flex, but still feels pretty rubbery and damp. When it comes to uneven terrain, I thought this was a very competent board in everything from hard uneven snow to soft, wet, thick, uneven snow in the 57 and the 60. It might not be the dampest, most chatter absorbing ride I've ever tried, but it's definitely in the upper tier, and it's a great all-day ride, especially if you're somebody who rides on weekends. When it comes to speed, this multi-radius side cut did a very good job at allowing me to go straight. It has a very mellow entry in the nose and tail, and then a deeper side cut in the middle. It always straight lined really well without feeling hooky or catchy. So if you want to straight line into a big kicker or get a big air in the backcountry, this will do a great job for that. It's also pretty damp and it absorbs chatter well, so you can go straight for a decent amount of time before this starts to feel a little chattery and sketchy. This is very good for an all mountain board. When it comes to base glide, I thought this had pretty good glide. Nothing exceptional, it's not the fastest of fast, but it's far from being at a level where you would complain. And I like the structure in the base. It's good for a little bit of everything, and it's not too overdone. When it comes to turning, I truly enjoy the 57 a lot better than this 160. This felt a little slow edge to edge, but that's expected for size 9s. The 57 I'd say was medium quick, and that's kind of where I like it without feeling too turny, too hooky. And when I got it on edge, the 57 and the 60, it had a very balanced turning experience because it has this mellow entry riding switch or regular into the side cut, and then it goes deeper in the middle. You can make down the line turns pretty easy without this board fighting you. You can make across the groomer carves, and this won't fight you on a circle carve either. It's a pretty balanced, fun turning experience. And this camber has so much pop and spring out of a turn. This was just a joy to carve. When it comes to powder, I tested this same day as the banker, and I like this better than the banker. And I wasn't sure about the float because it's full camber. Full camber can often take away some of the magic that a big nose has, but it didn't so much with this. It only has 5x2 inserts. I'd love to see 6x2 so you could get a little bit more setback directional float. But for a lot of people who are gonna get this board, they're gonna wanna get a lot of air in powder. They want a little more landing gear in the tail. But if you're like me and you wanna set it all the way back with full-size discs, at a 22-inch stance width, you can get 3.0625 inches back from center of board, which is a lot different than setback on side cut at 15 mil. It's very good for an all mountain board. Not the best I've ever tried, but a lot better than I thought it would be for this much camber. I could ride this switch a lot better than it looks, and I actually found myself riding switch a lot. This is amazing for people who want to get big air. That's not me. I'd love to ride the 157 in pipe. Our pipe was being rebuilt at the time I was testing, but I could see its potential there. And overall, I thought the alternator was really fun. I would personally love to own a 57. Some of my friends at Gravity Sports at Mount Bachelor loved this board too. It's very technical. It's not for everybody, but advanced expert riders are gonna really like this, and I'm gonna be recommending it to a lot of those types of riders moving forward.